Section 3: Duties to Clients, Customers, and the Public. Sarah was beginning to feel more confident. She had completed her first listing appointment, entered the property into the MLS, and already had several showing requests. Everything seemed to be falling into place. The following morning, she received a call from a buyer interested in the home. Before she answered, David, her managing broker, walked into her office. "Sarah," he said, "before you return that call, let me ask you something. When you're representing a seller, who are your duties owed to?" "My client," Sarah replied without hesitation. David smiled. "That's part of the answer." He reached over to his bookshelf and pulled out the Arizona Administrative Code. "One of the most important rules you'll follow during your career is AAC R428-1101. It requires Arizona licensees to protect their clients' lawful interests, but it also requires them to deal fairly with all parties involved in the transaction." Sarah thought about that for a moment. "So I can represent my seller aggressively, but I still have to be honest with the buyer?" "Exactly." David explained that many new licensees mistakenly believe loyalty means doing whatever their client asks. It doesn't. Loyalty never gives you permission to mislead someone. Imagine you're representing a seller in Scottsdale. During your listing appointment, the seller mentions that the home experienced flooding during a heavy monsoon storm 2 years ago. "It only happened once," the seller says. "Let's not bring it up unless someone asks." What would you do? Here's where many agents find themselves facing complaints. Arizona law requires licensees to exercise reasonable care and deal honestly with all parties. If a licensee knows about a material fact that could affect a buyer's decision, simply remaining silent may create serious legal and ethical problems. Who do you think the buyer calls after closing if water begins coming through the living room floor? Sarah laughed. "The listing agent." "Exactly. And after that?" "Probably ADRE." David nodded. "That's how many investigations begin. This is something ADRE investigators see regularly. Most complaints aren't caused by elaborate fraud schemes. They're caused by everyday decisions. A roof leak that wasn't discussed, foundation cracks dismissed as normal settling, an unpermitted garage conversion, a history of plumbing problems, a neighborhood issue everyone knew about but no one mentioned. Experienced brokers understand that small problems become large complaints when communication breaks down. David then opened the Realtor Code of Ethics. Article 1 says realtors must protect and promote their clients' interests. He paused before continuing. But it also says we must treat all parties honestly. Notice something? It doesn't say to hide information. It doesn't say to ignore Arizona law. It doesn't say your commission is more important than the truth. Instead, Arizona law and the Realtor Code of Ethics work together to create the same expectation. Professional licensees protect their clients while treating everyone honestly and fairly. This is why experienced Arizona brokers constantly remind their agents to document conversations, verify information before answering questions, and disclose known material facts promptly. One honest conversation today can prevent months of litigation later. The best real estate professionals understand that protecting the public isn't something you do only when problems arise. It's something you do every day, in every conversation, and with every client. As we continue, we'll look at how professionalism and ethical decision-making help licensees build trust, reduce complaints, and create successful real estate careers. 1. Why is it important for an Arizona licensee to distinguish between duties owed to a client and duties owed to a customer? Answer. A licensee owes fiduciary duties to a client, including loyalty, obedience, confidentiality, and reasonable care. However, Arizona law also requires licensees to deal honestly and fairly with customers and all parties involved in a transaction. Understanding the difference helps protect consumers while allowing the licensee to properly represent their client's lawful interests. 2. Imagine a seller asks you not to disclose a known material defect because they are afraid it will affect the sale. How would you respond? I would explain that Arizona law requires honesty and disclosure of known material facts that could influence a buyer's decision. I would discuss the legal risks of failing to disclose the issue, recommend addressing it appropriately, and consult my employing broker if additional guidance is needed. Protecting the client includes protecting them from future legal liability. 3. Why do many ADRE investigations begin with what seem like small issues? Answer. Many complaints begin because licensees fail to communicate clearly, document important conversations, or disclose material information. Small issues can quickly become significant after closing if a consumer believes important facts were intentionally withheld. Consistent communication and proper documentation help prevent these situations.